All right, so Shalom Lakam. All right, so today is the coming from the Torah, the Torah of the children of Yasharallah that we received from Yahweh, which is the Yahweh, which is God Almighty of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of the God of the Hebrews, the God of Genesis to Revelation, that sent His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, who the world calls Jesus Christ, to be the Prince and the Savior and the Messiah for the children of Israel. All right. Now, also, we understand that the children of Israel today are the so-called Afro-Latino indigenous peoples in North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean. We also understand that we have to keep His laws, commandments, and statutes. That we share the understanding with people according to what we call the royal basics, which is repentance unto salvation, which leads to us, which we arrive at only after being obedient. Right? So repentance unto salvation, R, then obedience, O. All right, obedience to Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, YA, according to the covenant and the agreements that He made with the children of Yasharallah, which are the Black, Hispanics, and the Indians, North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean. And it's imperative and important that we do this in these last days we live in. Khan? All right, so now we're in the third day, Aliyah. The new moon is coming up on December 6th through December 7th, which is a holy day of no work. We can cook, but we cannot do our own pleasures, and we cannot work and buy and sell. All right. Now, also, we see that Passover is coming up on April 18th to April 19th, which is the first day of Passover. All right, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And the last day is April 24th to the 25th, which is also a holy convocation. Khan? All right. So what we're going to go over now is we're going to go into the Torah, into Parashah Mikeitz, which is Mikeitz. All right, which is dealing with the third day Aliyah from Genesis chapter 41, verse 39 through 52. All right. Now, the title we're dealing with, just a brief summary, is going to be Latin Kings, Almighty Latin King Nation, which was started by Puerto Ricans in Chicago in the 50s. Their father, the father of the Puerto Ricans and the Cubans, is Joseph, which is who we're reading about today. So Joseph went into Egypt as a slave, and he rose up as a slave to become a king over all of the Egyptian empire, only second to Pharaoh. So he was the original Latin king. When he became the king, you know, when you look at Marlon Brando and the Godfather, they had to come and kiss the ring of the Godfather. All the Egyptians are going to kiss the ring of Joseph, meaning they're all going to bow down to him and recognize him as their Lord, as their leader. All right. Also, in dealing with the story of Joseph, we're going to come into information about the new moon to show that the new moon is indeed the black moon, not the crescent. And the reason we call this also RiCubanos is because Joseph is the father of the Puerto Ricans and the Cubans. And they talk about his children, Ephraim and Manasseh, being born in this Aliyah. This Aliyah, we're going to go over Joseph's children being born. The purpose of revealing all of these things from the Torah, from the Torah, is so that we can have a better understanding and obey Yahweh. All right, so Shalom to Ikaran Ban Ashar, and to the Akwaf Denise, who I'm not going to say Denise, or I guess you probably prefer Robin since you put that first. The Akwaf Robin, I'm not going to say her whole name because she don't like that, I guess. All right, so we're going to go into these things. We're going to try to be quick. Anybody want to bet any money on how we doing it? Who think we're going to do it less than an hour? Raise your hands. We're going to do it longer than an hour. Raise your hands. Okay. So when you bet, bet on black because red going into slavery. All right. So now we're gonna go into these scriptures. Very, 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 very good scripture. The wisdom of the Bible comes from the most unlikely places. All right. Now, what book did the Messiah read every Sabbath? All right. What book did Yasha'Allah read every Sabbath? The Torah. On the Sabbath, what book did we read? The Torah, right? So, how can we call the Torah a book of life? A book that has the doctrines of life, all right? How can we say that the Torah is life for us, but then we constantly looking into other books? We constantly looking into other new, lost, found, discovered, all right, new controversial books. Why do we always got to look there for proper doctrine? Because people don't understand the Torah. The Torah is a spiritual book. The whole Bible is a spiritual book. A lot of these other books really aren't spiritual. So to understand the Torah, you have to have the spirit of the Most High. You got to be walking in the spirit of the law, in obedience, and be totally surrendered to the Most High. That's why any nut can pick up any of these other books and read it and try to go by it. But to actually line yourself up with the instructions of life is very difficult for a lot of people to do, especially when you have to rely on the spirit of wisdom, to guide you into truth. Because a lot of people don't have that. All right, so now we're going to go into the Torah reading for the day. We're going to start in Genesis chapter 41. And we're going to read verse 39 through 52. All right, go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph.
So now Joseph left off with Pharaoh with basically Joseph told Pharaoh, well, man, yeah, it's a big job. You have to find somebody to do it for you, man. All right, go ahead.
For as much as Elohim hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art.
So Pharaoh told Joseph, man, you are the only one qualified for this job. You're the only one qualified to do this job. You're the only man that's walking in wisdom, that has the spirit of Elohim, the spirit of God Almighty is with you. Read.
Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou.
So basically saying, I'm going to yield my whole kingdom to you. Only in the title or the name or sitting on the throne will I be greater than you. Everything else, you're going to be greater than me. You're going to have authority over everything. All right. So now we see Joseph's father gave him authority. We see that Joseph's slave master Potiphar gave him authority. When Joseph was in jail, we see he got authority. So now Joseph is moving in authority, and he's getting favor from Pharaoh, favor from the king, favor from Potiphar, which was the chief executioner. He's getting favor from the guy that's in charge of the prison. He's getting favor from everybody. Everybody? Everybody. You get favor from all sides. Why? Because Joseph is a man of truth and a man of mercy. And the scriptures tell us by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged. And then it tells us that by mercy and truth, we get what? We get favor with men, and we get favor from God Almighty. So Joseph is now getting his favor. So when we get favor, we have to be obedient and walking in the commandments and walking in wisdom. I read.
And the Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt.
So he said, I have put you over everything. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck.
Now remember this, he put all these nice clothes on Joseph. All right? Nice clothes, put a chain on his neck. This is the same thing that wisdom does to us when we walk in her. She gives us a spiritual chain, a spiritual robe that we walk around with. And the evil spirits, demons can see this. They're like, yo, you can't really mess with her. Can't really mess with him like that. See them clothes, I mean, they really on a high level with the Most High. Right? If you ain't got that rock, if you ain't rocking them clothes like that, then the demons can do what they want to do to you. Evil spirits. Not saying they're going to totally destroy you, but there's levels. All right, go ahead.
And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had.
So Joseph was riding shotgun or right behind Pharaoh. Go ahead.
And they cried before him.
Now they say this is in the Egyptian culture that he would have been riding right beside Pharaoh, not behind him. All right, so second meaning he got to be riding beside him. Go ahead.
Bow the knee.
Mm-hmm.
And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt.
So he was the ruler over all Egypt. So when people saw him coming, they had to stop what they were doing, and bow down to Joseph. They had to bow down to Joseph, which we see kind of like Hamashiach. Every knee shall bow, and every tongue is going to confess that Yahweh is the Adawan. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt.
So Joseph passed a law saying anything monumental, anything noteworthy, anything happening in Egypt, you got to know about it and approve it. Okay.
And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paneah.
Okay, Zaphnath-Paneah, which means revealer of secrets. Go ahead.
And he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On.
Okay.
And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt.
So now Joseph now is going out to survey his kingdom. Now, when he goes out to survey his new responsibility, this is where the Most High shows us about the new moon. Remember the lesson that we went over earlier says that it is the Most High conceals the matter, but it is the glory of a king to do what? To seek it. And that was what? What scripture was that? Proverbs chapter 25, verse 2. Right? Proverbs chapter 25, verse 2. All right? It is the glory of God Almighty to conceal a matter, but the honor of kings is to search it out. So we got to search through these things that Joseph is going through. You see, hold on, where's this at in the rest of the Bible? What does the Most High talk about this? And if we're familiar with certain parts of if we're familiar with certain parts of the Bible, we'll think to ourselves, oh, okay, I know where that's at. All right, go ahead.
And Joseph was 30 years old.
Joseph was 30 years old. Go ahead.
When he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
When he stood before Pharaoh, he was 30 years old. Or he was 30 years old. All right, go ahead.
And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt.
So he goes again. He goes throughout all of the land of Egypt. Okay. He goes throughout all of the land of Egypt. Go ahead.
And Joseph, and in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls.
So now, in the 7 years of plenty, the earth brought so much. And that's what we see inside the Torah also. The Most High says he's going to give us in the 6th year enough fruit, enough food to grow for 3 years. Right?
He gathered up all the food of the 7 years, which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up this food in the cities.
So they had special places in the cities where they would put the food at and store the food up. So like a storehouse in every place. But Yasha Allah, like we don't have resource centers in the cities where we at. We don't got places people can come to and get like posters like this with, you got 3 kinds of Hebrew writing on here. You got the ancient, paleo, and then you have the Samaritan. There's a Torah written in this. And then you got the modern. There's a Torah written in this. So you got the 3 styles of Hebrew that are used to write the Torah at different points in history. So we have this. All right. Then you got the one with the chart with all 613 laws on it, which you're still waiting on. Have problems with that. Then you get charts with prayers, anything. Okay, can we get a Torah scroll? Can you get a Chumash? Can you get a Seder book or a Siddur book? All right, to say the different prayers and stuff. All right, to say the different prayers, so you know, even so you don't gotta just be winging it and say all kinds of things. And all right, get yourself a little Siddur book. All right. To say your different prayers and stuff with, all right, for the different festivals and different feasts and everything. So Joseph is saying, look, man, y'all gotta be resourceful, have everything lined up. You know that the crap is about to hit the fan. You know that bad times are coming. So when these bad times are coming, like this or another way, not. So you know these bad times are coming, right? So if these bad times are coming, you can put it on the up there. You know that these bad times are coming. So if you know these bad times are coming, you got to get ready for them. Or you got to get ready for these bad times. So what are we doing to get ready for bad times? All right, go ahead.
The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same.
Right.
And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea.
So he gathered in the corn. Go ahead.
Very much, until he left numbering, or was without number.
So they had so much resources came in that they couldn't even keep track of it anymore. And this is the same thing that happened when we were building the temple. Remember, they say, yo, you bring in too much, the tabernacle in the wilderness. God bringing in too much things. We have enough. Stop bringing in all your gold and your silver and your purple and your linen and your crimson, all right, and your blue. Read.
And unto Joseph were born 2 sons.
So Joseph had 2 sons. Go ahead.
Before the years of famine.
So before the famine came, Joseph had 2 sons. So on top of all the fruitfulness that came in that he was in charge of, now the Most High adds on to him 2 sons. Go ahead.
Which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him.
Now he had this baby by an African woman. So you Puerto Ricans and you Cubans, your ancestor, one of your ancestors is an African woman. You're the mother of your nation, of your tribe. Go ahead.
And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh.
Manasseh, which is Nashan, which is like made to forget. Go ahead. Manasseh, which are the Cubans, Cubanakan, which are the Cubans. Go ahead.
For Aliyah said, he hath made me forget all my toil.
For Aliyah, said he, has made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. So he made him forget. He didn't really long for his father's house anymore. And he forgot about all the hard work that he had been doing when he was a slave. All the toils, all the hard times, all the work and labor he had to do to show himself just to stay alive. He forgot about all of that. He got more relaxed in his spirit. And then he had a son. He named his son Manasseh, which means made to forget. Now this is the father. Scoot over a little bit over this way. This is the father of the people in Cuba. Manasseh. You people from Cuba, you are the tribe of Manasseh. Go ahead.
And all my father's house.
And
the name of the second called he Ephraim.
Ephraim, which is apartium, which is I am fruitful. A means I, and impartium means fruit, plural, fruitful. Apartium, I am fruitful. So he said, why? Go ahead.
For Aliyah hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction.
So Yahweh has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. So from this we can deduce that having 2 children, Joseph saw that as being what? Fruitful. because we know the Most High told us to do what? Be fruitful and multiply. All right, fruitful mean at least he had two fruits, which is his sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So now in the in here we see, what do we see? We see Joseph having a ring put on his hand, which is also called the didn't he have the ring put on his finger? All right. What verse is that?
Verse 42.
Right, so verse 42, he has the ring put on. Now, contrast this. What happened with the ring that Judah had? He took it off and gave it to a woman he thought was a prostitute. He gave it to a woman in exchange for sex. Now here Joseph is getting a ring from the king of Egypt to represent him in righteousness. Judah gave up a ring because he was doing something that was wicked. Okay? So that's the difference that we can see. Okay? Go ahead. No, not go ahead. So now let's go into the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6. Because we see Joseph getting this. What did he get? He got some nice clothes. He got a chain on his neck. He got a ring on his finger. His ring on his finger. All right. So Joseph, getting kind of fly. So let's go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. And let's start from verse 24. Go ahead.
And put thy feet into her fetters, and thy neck into her chain.
Now this is what happened to Joseph. Slavery. He had chains on his neck and on his feet when he became a slave, right? Slavery, which symbolizes slavery. It symbolizes you totally submitting yourself to wisdom. You totally submitting yourself to wisdom is what this is talking about. But we see also that Joseph did this. He was bound up and put in slavery. Go ahead.
Bow down thy shoulder and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds.
So we have to. Joseph bowed down his shoulder. He was working hard in Potiphar's house. Joseph was working hard. Okay. He was working hard when he was in jail. The same way when we come into wisdom, we got to work hard to do what wisdom says to do. We got to work hard to keep these commandments. When we're in the process of what? Of killing our flesh, the Most High is destroying Joseph's pride, destroying his entitlement. Because believe me, Joseph felt entitled with his brothers because he was over everybody. He was a young dude over everybody. The older brothers had to do what he said to do. So the Most High stripped him down and brought him down into a pit, put him in jail, made him a slave. So that same thing has to happen to us. We have to turn our backs on what we want and to our pleasures, the things that we like to do. We got to turn our backs on these things. We got to turn our backs on these things. And once we turn our backs on these things, we have to focus on what is the law saying, what is Yahweh saying, what is wisdom saying, and walk in that way. Go ahead.
Come unto her with thy whole heart.
So you come into wisdom with your whole heart. Come to Yahweh with your whole heart. Joseph is going into this slavery like, yo, I have to do this slavery. Joseph is showing us that, when we come into wisdom, that when we come into walking in obedience to Yahweh, what? That we have to come to with everything we have. So what we read in the Proverbs, we have to do it. We have to walk in it. All right, go ahead.
And keep her ways with all thy power.
So we have to walk in the ways of wisdom that we read about in the book of Proverbs, Ecclesiasticus, in the book of Ecclesiastes, all right, in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, all right, and some of the Psalms and some of the Psalms and and some of the verses in Job. So when wisdom comes to us and we start walking in what wisdom says to do, all right, what happens? We have to come with our own heart. Go ahead.
And keep her way. Search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee.
So we have to constantly be searching the scriptures, seeking answers in the scriptures, and that's how we're going to see what the black new moon is from Joseph being in Egypt. That's how we see that the Puerto Rican and the Cuban are the tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh, because we see what the Torah says about them. That's how we know that Joseph was the original Latin king, because his descendants were called Latinos, which is a byword. It's a wrong word. It's an insult. They're not Latin. We're not Latin. All right. Your ancestors, your ancestors were living on the island of Puerto Rico, right? Right. Then the so-called white man came over there, right? And he said, okay, this is a rich port. They didn't know what the white man was saying. This is a rich port. We're going to call this place Puerto Rico. Okay, so you people, you are now Puerto Ricans. But that's not the name that was put on your ancestors, is it? That's not the name that's not the name the Most High called them. You see? So now he says what? He says that you all have to do what? Search and seek. And we went over this earlier. Seek out of what? Isaiah chapter 34:16. It says, seek out of what? Seek out of the book of the what? Seek out of the book of the Lord, Yahweh. And what? And read. So we got to seek. What is the book? What book is Isaiah saying to seek from? Seek. Yeah, I'm Isaiah, y'all. Seek out of my book. You think that's what he's saying? He's saying, man, seek out of the Torah. Seek out of the Torah. All right, go ahead. So he says, search and seek. Did not Yahweh shall also say, seek and ye shall find? All right, go ahead.
And when thou hast got hold of her.
When you have gotten a hold of wisdom, meaning now you're walking in what wisdom says to do. You're doing stuff the way wisdom shows inside the scriptures to do. You're suppressing your flesh. You putting your desires and your pleasures on the back burner. You see? And it's what you have to do, whether you're an old man or a young lady. This is the only way that you are going to have a better relationship with Yahweh, a real connection with the Most High. All right, so that's the only way. All right, there's no other way we can. There's no other way we can do it. All right, there's no other way, and it's only through doing it the way that the Most High wants it done. Is it really going to be done? There's no other way besides the way of the Most High. All right. There's no other way besides the way of the Most High. So there's no other way besides His way. All right. So now let's we got a problem happening, technical difficulty. So we got to do that and come and post again. Do the part 2. All right, so this is okay. Well, I guess we can just maybe try to. I don't like using that camera too much. Kind of too grainy. But I guess we'll go ahead and use this camera. I don't think we won't have too much of a choice right now. right, so we're coming at it once again. All right, so this is very important that we understand that these things are not isolated instances. These things are working together by the power of Yahweh arranging everything the way that he wants things to be, the way he wants things to go. All right, now we might not fully understand it, but when we don't understand it, we have to seek out of the book. Okay, we have to seek out of the Bible. And only when we do that are we going to have the proper understanding. I don't know how that daggone camera got messed up. All right. All right, so keep reading. So we in Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6. And we're going into what? We're going into how Joseph, once again, is a shadow of wisdom. Go ahead. What verse you in?
Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, verse 27.
Go ahead.
And when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go.
So when you get wisdom, don't let wisdom go. Keep walking in her. Make the relationship stronger and better. Go ahead.
For at the last thou shalt find her rest, and thou shalt return to thy joy. Then shall her fetters be a strong defense for thee.
So now your fetters that she had on your feet are going to be a strong defense. All right, listen. Go ahead.
And her chains a robe of glory.
Her chains are going to be a robe of glory. So now that's the robe that Joseph had put on. That's the nice clothes, right?
Therefore there is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are of purple lace.
Okay.
Thou shalt put her on as a robe of honor, and shalt put her about thee as a crown of joy.
So crown and robe of honor. So Joseph's prison clothes got taken off, and he got put on the best clothes of royalty of Egypt. So our prison clothes, our old fleshly man gets taken off, and we put on the old spirit. And then we change into our royal clothes. We change into our purples. We change into our reds. We change into our blues. All right. Those are the three royal colors that the Most High put on the flag at the temple, right? Purple, red, and blue. Not violet, like the English tried to tell us, and people believe that in the Strongs. All right. When you look at the history, it wasn't a different shade, two different shades of purple. All right. So now let's go into Psalms chapter 105. Behold, Genesis. Hold that Genesis. Psalms chapter 105. Read verse 16 through 22.
Moreover, he called for a famine upon the land.
So Yahweh made a famine come upon Egypt. Okay? Yahweh made that famine come on Egypt. It wasn't just by nature. Yahweh said, you Egyptians, you're not going to get no food for a while. The earth is going to stop growing. Read.
He broke the whole staff of bread.
He broke the whole staff of bread, meaning he made it so that they couldn't produce any grain. All right, read.
He sent a man before them.
He sent a man before them who was Joseph. Go ahead.
Even Joseph.
Go ahead.
Who was sold for a servant.
Joseph started as a slave, but he actually was down there and he saved Egypt. All right, read.
Whose feet they hurt with fetters.
Then we just read about the fetters, right? Go ahead.
He was laid in iron.
All right, we just read that. We read it in Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. And we know in Joseph that right now it's saying that he was put in iron. So that's what I'm trying to, you have to understand that when you're reading about these things in the scriptures, a lot of these things that really happen are metaphors of wisdom to show you what's going to happen to you when you decide that your spirit is ready to go have a better relationship with wisdom, Yahweh, and Yahushua. All right? Wisdom, Yahweh, and Yahushua. But first you have to start what? By humbling yourself. By being like Joseph. By bringing yourself low. All right? So the fetter was put on his iron and his feet. Go ahead.
Until the time that his word came.
In the time that his word came,
the word of Yahweh tried him.
The word of Yahweh tried him. Then we just read that wisdom is going to try you by her ways. Then we just read that in Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. Did we read that or not? So now we see that the word of Yahweh was also trying Joseph. See, sometimes when you say stuff, people don't believe you. That's why you're going to show where it's at in other parts of the Bible. Because people don't want to believe stuff that you show them sometimes. They don't want to believe stuff that you say to them sometimes. So now we see that the Most High was trying Joseph. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, it says that wisdom is going to try us too. Okay, read.
The king sent and loosed him. Man.
The king, which is Pharaoh, sent Joseph to come to tell him about the dream that Pharaoh had. Read.
Even the ruler of the people.
The ruler of everybody told Joseph, come in, man. We need your help. We need you, O Hebrew. Read.
And let him go free.
And took him out of jail and let him go free. Read.
He made him lord of his house.
He made Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, made Joseph the Lord. Remember I said earlier that everybody was the Lord. Joseph was the Lord over everybody, so everybody had to come and kiss the ring, man. Which symbolized, you know what? You got the ring of Pharaoh, man. You the king. You the man. You the Lord. Read.
And ruler of all his substance.
So Joseph became the ruler over everything that Pharaoh owned, all of Pharaoh's possessions. Go ahead.
To bind his princes at his pleasure.
Whoever didn't do what Joseph said to do, Joseph could put him in jail. Read.
And teach his senators wisdom.
Teach them what?
His senators wisdom.
So Joseph knew wisdom. Just like we read earlier in the last verse of Luke chapter 2. What did it say? Yahweh grew in what?
Wisdom.
In wisdom. Joseph has what?
Wisdom.
So we got to get what?
Wisdom.
And the law is the first step in the foundation for what?
Wisdom.
You see that? So everybody got to get wisdom. If you really want to know the Bible, you got to get wisdom. All right, so that's the lesson on that. So now go back to the book of Genesis, chapter 41. Chapter 41. Genesis chapter 41. You there? Now read the last part of verse 45, the last sentence.
And Joseph went over all the land of Egypt.
Joseph went over all the land of Egypt. All right. Now read after the last colon in verse 43.
And they cried before him.
Or the last colon, but never mind, not that one. Because there's two places where it say Joseph went over Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. Verse 45 says, and Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt, right? Now let's go on verse 46. The last comma says what?
Went throughout all the land of Egypt.
So it tells us that twice, that Joseph went throughout all of the land of Egypt, right? So we read that. Everybody understand that, right? It tells us in verse 40, it tells us in verse 45 that Joseph went over all the land of Egypt. And it tells us in verse 46, verse 45 and 46, in the last part of the verse, it says, and he, Joseph, went throughout all the land of Egypt. Verse 45, and Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. Right? So when it tells us that twice, remember, he had that dream twice to show that the Most High is going to do it. It's established, and he's going to do it fast. So something about the what? About the start. So what is about to start when we see this right here? Let's go into the book of Proverbs again. We go into the book of Proverbs, chapter 81, verse 5. Now here is wisdom. Now this is when we get into about the new moon. I didn't say that we were going to do that. Yeah. I'm sorry, Psalms 81. Psalms 81. All right, now let's read verse 3 through 5. But now we see that Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt. Joseph went throughout Egypt. Joseph was released from his prison, got elevated to be the king over everything, got some new clothes put on him. All right. Now let's read verse 3. Psalms 81 and 3. Read.
Blow up the trumpet in the new moon.
So blow the trumpet in the new moon. New moon and new is the same word, chadash, which means something that's in a chamber, goes through a door, and has a movement up and down. Like the gravitational pull, like the earth and the waves. When the moon is close to the earth, all right, and the far from the earth, it has different reactions. All right. When it's a new moon, the earth is calm, the waters are calm. When it's a full moon, white, the earth is, the waters are more active. Okay. So it says, blow the trumpet in the new moon. Read.
In the time appointed.
In the time appointed in Hebrew says Ba-Kasa, which means in the covering. In the covering. Go ahead.
On our solemn feast day.
On the feast day. All right, go ahead.
For this was the statute for Yasha'Allah.
So this became a law in Yasha'Allah that the Most High gave to us to blow the trumpet. Go ahead.
And the law of Aliyah of Jacob.
Now go ahead, keep reading.
This he ordained in Joseph.
This he ordained in Joseph to do what? To blow the trumpet on the new moon. So we want to know when is the new moon, and we want to know about blowing his trumpet. We got to look to who? Huh? Joseph. To Joseph. And where is Joseph now? Where is Joseph in the history we just read? He's in Egypt. So it says he ordained in Joseph. Go ahead.
For a testimony.
So Joseph is giving us a what?
Testimony.
To the law and the what?
Testimony.
So we see Joseph's testimony in the law. All right, read.
When he went out through the land of Egypt.
When he went through the land of Egypt. We read that in verse what? 45 and 46. That Joseph went to the land of Egypt. Go ahead.
Where I heard a language that I understood not.
He couldn't understand what the people were saying. So now, what does that have to do with the new moon? So we have to see now, when we go into the new moon, and the Most High said that I ordained this while Joseph was in Egypt to do what? To blow the trumpet in the new moon. So now the question we got to see is, when did the Egyptians observe the new moon? Because Joseph, this was established from Yahweh through Joseph, or it ordained in Joseph as a testimony while he was in Egypt. So when did the Egyptians observe the new month, the new moon? After the crescent disappeared, after the waning crescent was over. When the moon was what? When the moon was black. That's when the Egyptians observed the new moon. So while Joseph, the Most High telling us, if you want to understand the new moon and blowing his trumpet, you got to go back and look at Joseph. So the first time we read about Joseph going throughout the land of Egypt, like the verse tells us, is when Joseph got set up by Pharaoh. And he went throughout all of Egypt, right? Like he did a tour. Yeah, I'm Joseph, what's up? Pharaoh put me in charge. This where y'all going to put y'all grain at. You build it over here. This how we're going to do the crop, blah, 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 and put everybody in charge. But during that time period, guess what? The Egyptians had religion. Joseph's woman was the daughter of a priest of On. All right, the priest of On. Give me the Kumash, please. Joseph's wife was the daughter of a priest of On. All right. Now let's go and check this thing out real quick. Okay, let's check this thing out. Y'all still with me? If you with me, say, hey, man. Don't sound right. All right, so what, All right, so he was a high level guy. So Joseph is totally ingrained in Egyptian rulership, totally ingrained. Pharaoh was setting him up. He was with Potiphar. He's been on the executive branch of the Egyptian government the whole time he's been there, right? And so the Most High says, when Joseph was in Egypt, I set up for Joseph to blow the trumpet. I set up for Israel to blow up the trumpet when Joseph was in the land of Egypt. And in the land of Egypt, on the new moon, what new moon were they observing? The black new moon. All right. Now you can do a quick search on Google and see when did the Egyptians keep the new moon. And you're going to go to academic websites. They're going to tell you, oh, they kept the new moon when the new moon was black. That's what all of your academic websites are going to tell you about the Egyptians. You're not going to find any that say they kept the crescent moon or they kept the white moon. So this is one of those things that's like a mystery. This is one of those things that's like a mystery that the Most High has set up. But we got what? Seek it out. We got to seek out the mystery. So now we know that the new moon is really when? That the new moon is really when the moon is black. And we know that from Genesis chapter 1 also. But now we see Joseph, him being in Egypt, confirming it. Because you have to look at what's going on in Egypt, because the Most High tells you Joseph got set up in Egypt, and he went through when he went throughout the land of Egypt. All right. Now this leads some people to say that Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt on Rosh Hashanah, or not Rosh Hashanah, but the memorial of the blowing the trumpets. All right. So they blew the trumpets on the first day of the 7th month when Joseph became the ruler over Egypt. That's what people say. It could be true. We don't know. But traditionally, that's what's taught by the older so-called rabbis or sages of the Israelites, both Israelites and Gentiles that read the Torah. Both of them say, most of them say that. Okay. But we do know the fact that the Egyptians kept the new moon. They observed the new moon when it was black, not a crescent and not white, specifically when it was black. Now, years later, we get over into Babylon, they kept it a different way. And then the Israelites started to keep it a different way. But if we want to know stuff about that new moon, the Most High is saying, don't look to Egypt. Don't look to Babylon. Look to Joseph when he was in Egypt, and look to see how it was done by him and by them when he was there in that empire. And we'll see, okay, they did the new moon when the new moon was black, not when it was white. Okay? Not when it was white. So that's the way we can solve that little mystery. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and end it now. What's that? So that's it. The next new moon is gonna be April 6th, which is that's like tomorrow night, right? The next new moon is gonna be December 6th. Thank you for the correction. All right, so-called Thursday night. All right. So tomorrow night, well, I don't know where you at, but if you in India, shoot, the new moon is gonna be tonight for you. If you in India, the new moon is tonight on December 6th to December 7th is the new moon. Okay, and then we have April 18th to April 19th as the first day of Passover, sunset to sunset, the holy day, and then we have April 18th, April 24th to April 25th as what? As being the last day, the 7th day of Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread. All right. So that's going to be it for right now. We're going to conclude. So all praise to Yahweh Bashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Shalom Aleichem.